came up. She was like, "Hey, Sergeant Docchio, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, good. Just good, ma'am. How are you? And she was like, "No, really, like serious."
Yeah.
She's like, "No, really, like, how are you? Like, you look different." And she's like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not." I told her, I was like, I'm not doing good. And she was like, "All right," what she gave me her card. She's like, "Call me, we need to talk, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "All right, ma'am." And I just, whatever. I forgot about it. At that point, you're like, you're trying to get through the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get through.
You just want the conversation to just end. It's like, okay, yes, I acknowledge that I don't look the same to you as I did last time.
I even threw out, I think I threw out, like, I'm going through a divorce, I'm stressed out. Sure. That I threw some bullshit out to her. And later on that day, I'm in this RV in the middle of the woods, right? And I got my 1911 out. I had this like custom. My uncle gave it to me. It's custom like 1911, like horses and engraved in it. Beautiful 1911. I got that out, like what the fuck I got 1911 out for?
Yeah, you weren't cleaning your pistol.
I'm not cleaning my pistol. Like, what's it sitting on the fucking counter on the coffee table for?
Were you drinking?
No, I wasn't drinking.
You were never into drinking at all, were you?
No, I mean, unless I was at like It's.
Okay. Yeah,
Back
for a couple of beers. But you didn't use alcohol to suppress any of it. It was...
Alcohol wasn't a coping mechanism for me.
Okay.
Which I wish it was, because it's more accepted. Sadly.
Very sadly.
Sadly, it's more accepted. It doesn't come with a stigma.
No.
Like, you can be a raging alcoholic, because I know a lot of them in there in the group that I used to work with that used to have the drinks, right?
Yeah.
And not many people they ain't gonna say nothing. They're not gonna judge you. But God forbid you take a fucking pain pill.
Yeah.
You're a scumbag.
Okay.
Just being straight honest, right?
Yeah.
It's just what it is. It's sad, but it's what it is. So I'm sitting there self-medicating. I'm done, right? I'm at that point that we talked about where the kids would be better off without me, right? Kids would be better off if I wasn't around, because all I'm doing at this point is just dragging everybody down. That's what's going through this head of mine, which is fucking bullshit, right? We know that.
100%.
They just need a healthy me. That's the reality of it, right? They need a healthy me. They don't need me to be gone. But at that point, that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm my parents. You know what I mean? I'm like stressing my parents out. I'm just destroying everybody's life. So, dude, I'm at that point where I'm like, I'm ready to do this. If I get a couple more chemicals in me, I'm gonna do this, right? My phone rings. Right, I'm like, like hello, who the fuck's calling me? And it was the shrink. This kills me. I can't. My mother sent her Christmas cards for years because she saved my life. It was her, the shrink from Sierra. She called me and was straight up like, "Are you all right?" Like, straight up, like, not beating around the bush. Like, we need to talk.
Yeah.
And dude, I don't know, because I kind of trusted her. From being from 7th group and our interactions before, I trusted her a little bit, because back at that time there wasn't this like, go for help and you're gonna be all right and your clearance, like that wasn't. It wasn't
what was portrayed, right? If you go in for any kind of mental health issues, you're gonna get pulled off the team. You're gonna lose your clearance, and basically they're going to be treating you for the next however many years until they get you out of the military. Over. That's what we thought, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that
there was nobody promoting anything. Like, you're fine, right? And there's no promoting otherwise. In our minds, our career's over.
Right.
Clearance is done, right? That's what you think. And I trusted her. I really did trust her. So I went and met with her, and we sat down, and she was. Dude, I just laid it all out for her. I told her the truth. Like, dude, I'm fucking struggling, man. Like, I really am. And, but I also telling her, like, but I'm not losing my career. I got this. I'm still just like, I got this, right? Like, I'm telling you I'm hurting, but I got this. and she did a good job. It was just like, listen, just reassuring me, man, you're gonna be fine. Like your clearance ain't gonna get taken. You need help. So you need help. And like 24 hours later, I was on a bird to to Laurel Ridge in San Antonio. They got a military wing there for only military in their place. It was great. So I went out there for I was supposed to be there 30 days. I was supposed to end up staying there for 63 days.
Okay.
That's how fucked up I was.
Now, so that process, once you talk to this shrink, and you said within about 24 hours you're getting moved back, did they continue to, I guess, just basically put your fears to bed? I mean, you made the decision, like they helped you make that decision. That's like, look, dude, this is your life. Like, don't worry about any of this other stuff right now. We're talking about your life. So put all those fears to bed, and then we just got to get you fixed, right?
That's it. And that's exactly what she did. I mean, she did a great job of putting shit in perspective. What you're putting shit in perspective of priority wise, but then also realizing I'm also a realist. Like, I get it. My life's priority, blah blah blah. But then when I'm done, having a job is also a priority.
Sure.
It's not rainbows and unicorns. I still got to come back and work, and I need clearance and all that good stuff. And she did a great job of acknowledging that and reassuring me that, dude, you're gonna come back, and when you come back and you're good, it's like it never happened. You go on and go back to work, and it's what I did, man. It's what I did. I just took a leap of faith with her, because it was right. My life was unmanageable.
Okay,
that goes back to that manageable level, right? My life wasn't just unmanageable. I mean, I was done, dude. It was to the point of taking my life seemed like the best option, the only option.
The only option.
That's at that point, it seemed like the only option. And there was nobody else. There was nobody there telling me otherwise. My buddies, they're all, I got pulled from them, right? Who's here, there. I mean, you know what it is when you leave the team. It's like guys go their separate ways. So there's nobody holding me accountable. I got 2 GBs at SEER school. I don't even really know them. Who's holding me accountable? Who knows me well enough to hold me accountable?
And that's a huge valid point right there. And that's one of the things that you and I have been discussing about this accountability after the military is, while you're in the military, while you're on your team, you're accounting for each other. You know each other well enough to know when something becomes an issue. And a lot of times we'll be able to put it out before it even becomes an issue. Yeah. And we know what to do. But you're right. Once we go our separate ways, it's not that we're mad at each other, anything like that. You're just dealing with your own thing,
shit.
Whatever that is in space and time. And if we don't manage that relationship with our people, with our friends, our brothers, our sisters, and we don't continue to manage that relationship, it's not that it goes away, because when we see them at school or when we see them next time we run into them, it's like you didn't skip a beat.
Right, yeah.
But if we're not talking to each other and letting each other know, then, brother, you're right, there's no accountability.
There's no one.
Because how do you go in just, let's say, 6 months, a year, you're with new people you don't know. How do you become that close with those people fast enough to where they know something's wrong with you?
You can't, because at that time, for me to trust somebody, for me, it's still, I struggle with that now, right? For me, in order for you to earn my trust or be that type of me, you have to go to combat with me. Right? It's as sick as it is. Like, that's how I'm better at it now. But for those years, I held people at such a standard. It's like, unless you prove yourself to me, like you're going to put your life on the right, then you're never going to be that.
Right.
you're never going to make it there. So you do it to yourself.
Yep.
In a way, not on purpose. It's just what you do, you know.
I was talking to my aunt earlier about that process, right? Before we go to combat, before we deploy, we go through our soldier readiness,
Mhm.
right? And they always end that day. Do you remember how you end before you finally get your stamp to go? Like you have to see your provider before you can leave, right? So everybody has to see the doctor before they can, get stamped off on, yep, you're good, clean bill of health. And that's basically same thing coming back when you redeploy, right? We go through all of our medical procedures and we got to go over to the site. And the last thing you see is the doctor. And the doctor, before you do, you fill out a little questionnaire that I think there's about 10 questions on there that it's a yes or no, right? Talking about the traumas, talking about, did you see any dead bodies? Did you
Yeah.
feel like you were in grave danger at any point? A lot of those questions, right? And if you answered yes to any of those questions, that means you're going to go get a special talking to with the doctor, right? A little bit more in depth. And we knew that.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to have that conversation. Not with him, not with her.
Didn't you read the questions? Just put no for everything.
There was nobody at that clinic that knew what you were going through well enough. They haven't seen it. You don't want to talk to them about what you're going through. You just want to get out of there, right? And so even though they gave you the opportunity to talk to the doctors, it's not the right doctors. I just want to get back to my team, to my safe place,
So
right?
your safe place. My safe place is with my team in Afghanistan. Right? That's all it is. And it's or you have the questions like, do you not find any satisfaction in doing things that you used to do? Right? All those good questions, right? Which are very great questions or poignant questions. I mean,
Yes.
if you answer honestly to those questions, it would raise a legitimate flag that you are suffering from some sort of depression, some sort of PTSD, right? But are we going to answer those questions?
And risk being
And
taken
risk-
off your team, potentially losing your clearance,
Like, come on.
leaving the military, and then going to have to deal with this. No, that's the answer. And
It's like, come on, man.
at least not for us, right? When we were going through, there was a big of enough stigma, I think, still at that time. But I was talking to another friend, and we were kind of having that discussion, and it was brought up that because we're towards the end of our careers now, like we dealt with that 20-year war. We were there from the beginning, and we got to recognize and see all the things that guys like you went through. And so it's a completely different army now than where it was. We're arming these young soldiers as they're coming in with some resiliency training and a lot of opportunities to be able to have those conversations. And now that stigma has finally been lifted, we're here to have this conversation to let everybody know that you got to go out there and talk. You cannot let it build up. You've got to get there, get seen, talk to the doctors and let them know what's going on with you and get that help.
Yeah.
Don't let that injury continue to compound to where, 20 years later, you're still fighting, trying to figure out how to just get to step one.
Well, I think also secondary reason too, which I think is almost just as important, because the likelihood of me going for that help, even with the stigma erased, right? Even with the stigma erased, likelihood you got egos, you got shame, you got guilt, right? Those things aren't going to let me do that. And I say that because they didn't. Those are the reasons why I didn't. Because okay, my career, yeah, that's something that was a major driving factor. But then you also have shame. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a shame in my mind. It was a shameful act that dudes I know that are dead, that died, right? And I'm like this, right? I should be living. I mean, I should be fucking grateful, dude.
You should be celebrating life.
Celebrating it, right? Instead, I'm destroying it. I'm self-destructive, right? So I think the shame too comes into play.
That survivor's guilt that comes
Survivor's
with it.
guilt, yes. That's it, dude. Leroy, a good friend of mine, right? In 2004, right after that story I told you, it was maybe a week later, he passed, right? never got to meet his twin boys that were born. Right, this dude he flew home halfway through the trip to get that in vitro, maybe it's called. When you're having a problem having kids. That's not, I don't know what it is, but it's impossible to get an appointment. This is back in 2004, right? This is when this was expensive and hard to get. And the only appointment they can get was like in the middle of the deployment. And obviously everybody supported him to go home and do it, right?
Sure, they've been trying to have children for a long time, and this was the last.
So I don't know what the process. Go home and jerk off. I don't know what you do.
I'm not sure. I think they basically take it out. So I think they put the eggs in kind of like a test tube, right, or like an incubator, and then they'll take the sperm and fertilize the eggs with the sperm, like all in a controlled environment, and then place it back inside the female to grow. I believe that's how it works, but again, definitely. Not a doctor.
Lieber went home. He did that, and he gets killed right at the end of the trip, man. And that's what I think about, dude. Then you find out when you come home that his wife ends up having twin boys. Like, how could you be so fucked up when you look at that? You know what I mean? And I think that's so. Guys, get back to the point is sometimes shame and guilt is not going to let that guy go in there. So I think, the secondary reason that you do what you're doing with this podcast is hopefully some sort of educating the families of people, the wives, the kids, anyone that's in that circle that he trusts, so they can do what that shrink did for me. Right. They can be the ones that talk to him, relieve him of that shame, relieve him of that guilt, take that burden away from him, so he can make, sign off on getting help, because I don't think he's gonna ask for it.
That's right.
So I think that's why I think this is huge. It's huge for him. Yeah, he's gonna know he's not alone, but is he still gonna pick up that phone? Maybe 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 won't. There might be 2 or 3 that will pick up that phone because maybe they hit, and trust their buddy really well. But I never picked up the phone. It was always somebody else. Because I had another instance. At the end of my career, I didn't pick up the phone. Dude, I was trying to kill myself. No shit, I was done again, and it was somebody that loved me. Old teammates, actually, Ben, Zach, and Tim, guys that loved me, that knew I was fucked up, that came and relieved that burden from me, and made that decision for me. So that's why I think it's really important for the families to understand that, to understand what they're going through, the signs, the changes, and I'm not gonna say the responsibilities on them, but an opportunity. The opportunity is there if they can identify and recognize it for what it is and take advantage of it, if that makes sense.
I think that makes perfect sense, and that's a great way of putting it. It's an opportunity. The more we can educate and kind of put out what those signs are, the hope is that the families are going to understand. They're going to be able to see it and be there for you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Having somebody there that's reaching out, that understands, maybe doesn't understand exactly what you're going through, but they understand that you need somebody, and just reaching out. If you've got somebody in your life that is counting on you, it gives you purpose.
Dude, it does.
And sometimes we forget that others are counting on us. And I think those are conversations that need to be had.
They do. They have to start asking the question, why? You know what I mean? I think that's key. Is why is that person acting that way? Why is that person doing this? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? Instead of the mentality of they did this, so I'm going to attack them, right? Like, they did this, so let's crush their careers. They did this, so let's, I was special forces my life. I have never talked bad about them, but goddamn, we're good at eating our own. We are good at eating our own. And there's so many examples of I just seen on LinkedIn like about a year ago. He was an officer, man. He's like colonel or something like that. I think it was something like, I think he like hit his wife or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was something that, appalling, right? Everyone's like appalled that this guy struck his wife, right? And some woman that, now maybe she dated a Green Beret or something. It sounded like she thought she knew what being a Green Beret was. On LinkedIn, just destroys this man, right? Right, just destroys this man. But in the process of her writings, gave the answer. You know what I mean? Like, made her look stupid, but ignorance is, if you don't know, you don't know. But she laid it all out in there, like how his career was stellar. Never before had any issues with anything like that, right? Like, it was out of his character, was even one of the things that was said in the article, not article, but the posting, right? Was out of his character. I mean, the guy was basically the poster child of an SF officer for 20 something years, but ends up, he struck his wife, right? Acting crazy. And what happens? He gets fried, right? He gets executed, right? Which, I mean, at that point, when you put all those years into the military and you sacrifice so much, and you're such a stellar performer and leader, right? And then this happens to you, you don't think that dude wants to kill himself, right? You don't think that dude is something that's like fuck, man, you stripped this dude of everything. How about we ask why he did that? If in 20 something years, the man's never done anything like that in his life,
Right.
Stellar career, stellar everything, stellar dad, husband, everything, right? Does it take, dude, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, believe me, dude. I'm not that smart. But I could look at that and go, something happened. Like, I would like to talk to that man and find out, like, the last 2 years, 3 years, like, what have you been doing? Like, you deploy, like, tell me something. Like, tell me, is there a deployment? Something. Because something clicked in that dude that's got him fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. It could be TBI. A lot of guys get TBI injuries and they start irrational things. I mean, I'm a poster child for it.
You and me both.
You become self-destructive. You become, just out of norm for your character. You make impulsive decisions. You're just irrational. You know what I mean? And it's, instead of, I get it. You always say, if you go for help left of boom, we can help you. And I understand that from a command aspect.
Right.
I get it. Right of boom, right? Right of the incident, right? You hit your wife, we can't really do much for you.
Right.
I get that. But do we have to fry the guy? I listened to a buddy of mine. He had some issues a couple years ago, right? Where he snapped, and wife, family involved, all that stuff, but bad situation. And it did. Everybody, immediately, everyone cuts away from you, right?
Yeah.
And everybody cuts away from you immediately, right? So I went to the court hearing. I went to the court hearing, right? And his wife got on the stand. Let me tell you something, man. 9 out of 10 wives would not have been like her. That woman fucking stood by, did right. But she got up there and she read. She asked the judge if she could read a letter that she wrote, right, to the court, and the judge permitted her to. And she read this letter. Dude, I was crying, dude. I like tears fucking coming down my face, man. And the woman's letter basically, basically what she said in the letter was, the man that I married 15 years ago, right? Sweet, loving, caring man that would never harm me, that would never harm his children, would never put us in jeopardy, right? The man that she married, which is the man that I know, right? Mm-hmm. Would never do the things that allegedly saying that he did, right? Because she didn't rat on him. She stuck by him. But she said, what I don't understand is you guys, being the military, made him this man, this machine, right? You created him.
Sure.
To do your duties, right? To do the job that nobody else wants to do. You created this monster, right? And made him go time after time again to go do your dirty work, right? To go do the work that nobody else wants to do. And then when he comes home and he's broken, right? He comes home and he breaks because you can't be that you cannot be in a firefight on Friday and Ruby Tuesdays in Crestview on Sunday, eating dinner with the family and think you're okay. Chemically, a doctor explained to me, it was just that analogy. He said, chemically, that throws you off, like it chemically imbalances you. And then you do it over again and again and again and again. Like you are going to snap, right? Eventually, you try and keep them compartmentalized, these two people, operational, and you shut it off when you come home. Well, when that blends, it's fucking bad. It's not good. But she said it. You guys broke him. And then when he's broke, now you just cut him away. That's it. Like you just now you just leave him when not trying to fix him, not trying to help him, nothing.
And you want to punish him too.
And then you're gonna punish him.
You're gonna, so not only are you gonna make it worse by taking him away from everybody that he trusts and everybody he knows, but now you want to punish him.
Really give him hopeless
for becoming that.
You're gonna punish him for being what you wanted him to be. And then when it's not good for him to be that anymore because the war's coming to an end, or right, now we're gonna fucking destroy him. But obviously she said it in a much better way than I did. But it was crying because she was dead on.
Yeah,
she was 100% right. And I'm telling you that happened to me. That was at the end of my career, man. I went to Peru. Me and one other dude, and it was crazy. That's my whole military career, dude. L-shaped ambushes, right? Shit that we drove through. I've never been more shook in my life than in Peru. And I'm not gonna go through the whole story, but when it was all said and done, right? When I came home, dude, I got off the plane, and dude, I couldn't turn it off. Like I had surveillance on me. Dude, I was at work reporting it, like to people. You know what I mean? Like people must thought I was fucking nuts, dude.
Okay.
People must thought I was nuts. But nobody said nothing because it was Doc. Doc's been through some shit, right? It was always kind of like, just like, just like, oh, dude, he's just fucked up, just, they would just kind of like, just let it go. And then nobody would want to get you in trouble, right? Because we're all buddies, right? So it kind of just was like going away. But dude, I was pulling people out of their cars in my neighborhood. I didn't recognize the car. Dude, I pulled the old man out of they teach you in Sephardic, you grab under the chin, you pull him out through the car window. I pulled the old man out through fucking car window, dude, broad daylight on a Sunday. Because it's a cul-de-sac, man. If you don't live there, there's no reason to come down to my neighborhood.
Yeah,
Sarge, I would be up all night. I wouldn't sleep all night. I'd be window to window, dude, just doing like security in my house. You know, I couldn't turn it off. Like I couldn't turn it off. It took me 15 minutes to drive to work. It would take me 2 hours because I would run an SDR all over fucking the county, dude. I would run a 2-hour SDR going to work. I'd leave work at 5. I want to get home to like 8 because I would be
just driving all over the place. Just trying to figure out if
it's real or it's not. You know, let me tell you something. There's nothing more crazy. Nothing would drive me more crazy than not knowing if like what you're seeing is real or not. Because I see it. You know what I mean? It's just your perception,
right?
The way your mind is perceiving it. You know, and man, that went on for like a year. Obviously, my marriage was right. It was done, right? So I was at that point where I couldn't go to work. Right, for the first time in my career, stepping foot on that base was like, dude, the amount of weight that I feel the moment I went through the gate, the amount of weight that would come on my shoulders was unbearable, dude. It was unbearable. And then I would leave, right? And all that weight would be like left behind. And then I would get to 85 to go to, I lived in Crestview. I would get to 85 to go north. And as soon as I got on the highway, it was like a reminder that I'm going home now. And the weight would just fucking come back. Because I knew the minute I walked in that house, you had to deal with a whole new world of shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was like, I know where to go, dude. I had nowhere to go. And it got so bad, man. The depression, like it got to a point. And then when you're with somebody that like you're somebody that doesn't understand. You know what I mean? Like doesn't understand.
Right.
Just doesn't understand really anything that has to do with what you're going through.
I think one of the things just to kind of touch on the marriage thing, right? And when we're gone 6 months out of the year, 8 months out of the year, because we're deployed, okay, that's half the year you're not with this person, right? So knowing that we continue to grow and change, we're going to continue to be more like people that we're with all the time. They're going to continue to be more like people that they're with all the time. But the point is, after a few years of being gone and coming back, you really don't know that person anymore, that your significant other. So I don't really blame them with a lot of this. They don't know how to react to us because they don't
know us.
They don't even know who we are anymore. Because I remember me when I was, that young man coming into the military, and yeah, you change really quick.
So yeah. So I mean, you could imagine. Family. You could imagine when you have little kids and they're crying, and that's your trigger, and you know how sometimes you're dealing with all this shit from work and the pressure and the hypervigilance and all this crazy stuff, and then you come home and that's happening. Why does dad snap? You know what I mean? Dad's not snapping because he doesn't love you or what your mother's saying, right? Dad snapped because he's seeing some other shit right now. He's not seeing my kids. My mind is somewhere else. I just want the crying to stop so I can come back. You know what I mean? But I think that's important for people to understand that. That goes back to the why. Like, why is your husband so short-tempered with the kids? Or why is your husband doing this, right? There's things that for families or sons or daughter, why is your son doing this, right? Whatever it is. The people in that circle need to ask why. Like, try and understand why. Not just attack.
And actually ask the question.
Actually understand, or unless when you married him, or if it's your son or is your son or something. If he was always an asshole, and always was an asshole with his kids, well then, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Right.
He's an asshole. But if he's a loving and caring person that loves kids, or or it's just out of his character, instead of attacking them, we need to get to the root of the problem. Like, what is the problem? Or you need to care to. Now, some family members don't give a fuck. They don't care enough to even want to understand that. And then that's on the person to make changes.
Right. Absolutely. No, I love the analogy of frog in cold water, right? You go into combat, you're a frog in cold water. You're changing slowly over those deployments, time after time after time, and you're becoming who you are. So when you return, you look like a different person to your spouse, to your kids. You're acting a lot different. That's not who you were before you left. Why is that? What happened over there that your husband's so much different now than he was 6 months ago? And those are things that have to be talked about. They have to be better understood.
Those are red flags, man. Those are like those help warning flags that are popping up. If you don't address them, it's just gonna get worse. You can't hide in a deployment the rest of your life. We try to. I try to. You can't hide overseas. And I tell you, a good example is, when I retired up in DC, last year I was in Walter Reed going through like the PTSD program and the TBI program and all this stuff, right? 7th Group took care of me, man. They did everything in their power to make sure when I retired that I was all right.
You were going to be the best version of Matt Docchio possible at that point.
Exactly. I mean, they set me up for success.
Gotta love the military.
It's best they could. You do. That's why people talk shit. I'm like, stop, dude.
Stop.
Because I would be in these groups, right? I'd be in these programs where you got bitter soldiers talking shit. I'd say, stop, man. I'm the wrong guy to talk to about that shit. I'm like, because you're making me mad.
Yeah, the Army didn't fuck me up, right? Like, it's the Army saved me, and now I just got to learn how to deal with who I've become since.
Were you a part of a draft? Because I know you weren't. You signed the fucking line.
That's right.
You signed the line. Just because you signed the line for college and then you had to go to war, don't bitch. But
get help.
And they're providing you the opportunity here.
Yes.
So, but I mean that's another story. But when I was in DC, I had this shrink. She was awesome. I loved her, man. I loved her because she called me on my bullshit. Straight up, like she wouldn't back down. Because I used to bully all the shrinks. I'd bully them to do what I want to do, right? Because if you say something at the right decibel, like if you say something with the right assertive, I guess we say, assertively, and you know what you're talking about. Because I mean, I'm very educated when it comes to mental health. I've read all the books. You know what I mean? So I could talk knowledgeably on the topic in an aggressive manner. Where most shrinks are going to back down and just be like, okay, But not her, dude. Like, that's when I knew she was the one for me because I tried doing that with her and she fucking straight up, get the fuck out of my office. I was like, I sat down.
Okay.
I did. I sat down. I was like, okay, you're right. So, and that was it. She was my doctor, right? So she gives me this task. When I'm up there, she was like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to join a softball team in DC, right? I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I want you to join a softball team. She's like, there's a softball league starting in DC. I want you to join a softball team. And that's that. You're going to join it and you're going to play the season. So you always say you're competitive. You're this athlete, right? She's fucking me. Like, you're this fucking athlete.
Just gaslighting.
Right? She's like, join a softball league. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I did. I joined a league. I got on this team that they were looking for players. Real competitive league, too. It was badass. Co-ed. All the girls play like college ball and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a competitive league. And I didn't understand why she was making me do that. But I actually liked playing. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. So we were sponsored by some bar in DC. Right? So after the game, usually everyone would go to the bar, like, have something to eat and drink a beer, whatever. And that's when I realized why she was making me do this. Because it goes back to like the baseline, right? I'm surrounded by people like me, right? You're normal.
You're normal.
We're all fucked up. We're normal, right? So I never forget the first time I played a game, right? They're like, hey, we're going to blah, blah, whatever bar it was, right? To eat. You coming? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming. So I went down, and I don't know how many people are on a softball team, right? But remember, mind you, we're in DC. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we're not going to get political.
Politically.
No, not going to get political.
We're in DC. All right. I ain't from around these parts. So, dude, I never felt like more of a monster. You know when people say you feel like a monster? That's when I realized, like, it was depressing. It was very sad. I sat there and just, like, honestly, I just listened. I didn't even say a word to anybody the whole time. I just sat there, drank my beer, ate my food. I couldn't even join a conversation. I couldn't even join any of the conversations because I had nothing in common with these people. Like, these people were happy. Like, just listen to the conversations. It was depressing. Like, these people were happy, like genuinely happy. You know what I mean? Like, they actually, did stuff on the weekends and, like, went there. They did stuff together. They were friends. Like, they actually had friends that were healthy friends. Like, women and men were friends. For real. There's actually men and women that were friends. I've never seen that in my life. Not in the military, right? Tell me I'm wrong.
Not going to go down that road. Just
different culture, man.
Yeah.
Different culture. And, like, the best way I could put it is they see good first.
They see good in each other. They see human first.
They see human first. They see good first.
Just human first is probably the secret there.
I can only speak for me, but I can speak for probably most guys, but I'm just speaking for me when I say I see, somebody I don't know immediately is a threat. You know what I mean? Like,
you're sizing them up
immediately, right? Everybody's bad, and they have to prove good, right? I mean, I'm a lot better at that now, but it's still there
because they're all capable of being evil.
They're
presumed evil,
and every word that comes out of anybody's mouth is analyzed. Any word, you know what I mean? Every word spoken to me, I'm analyzing, right? Any actions, right? I'm always reading and analyzing every single thing that somebody does, and they all have meaning. Every word has a meaning. Every action has a meaning, and it's always I'm always looking for that thing inside of them that's bad.
That threat,
that lie, right? And I'm pretty sure most SF guys are like that. Well, maybe from our era, maybe I think that's just from being overseas, and you're just you're always looking for that threat, right? Especially like a level 3 type thing. You're always analyzing stuff. You're always looking for that potential threat, and I think that's ingrained in you, and it's sad, dude. It's sad, and it's sad because I've lost probably a lot of good friendships or relationship potential. Good people that could have been friends with, or could have been maybe dated or something like that. Good opportunities to bring positive people into my life, healthy people into my life that would do nothing but make me better, right? Because you're only as good as your best friend, right? If you look at your friends, whoever's the most successful friend that you have, that's as good as you're going to get. And that's, like, proven. You can fact check it. No, I don't know. But it's a saying, though. Who you surround yourself with is who you're going to become.
Yeah, I heard it my whole life. As a child growing up.
I tell my kids that all the time, dude. All the time I tell them that. I'm like, guys, So that I know why she did that, because, and as I was sitting there, I realized it. I was like, she's so wise, that one, right?
What do they do with horses? Wild stallion, right? What do they do?
Break them.
They put them in with the other horses, right? It domesticates them. That's what she's doing.
That's what she did, and it did, man. And to be honest, by the end of the season, I joined in a few conversations.
You talk to any of them still?
No. A couple of them on Instagram.
So they'll see this.
Probably, yeah. They probably don't realize how much good they did for me.
Let's talk about that in a minute. How long did it take you to start letting down a little bit of a guard and start actually enjoying yourself doing that to where you weren't, to where it wasn't a job and it wasn't a mission because the nice doctor lady was making you do it, but you were actually enjoying it and being
Like true.
feeling part of
You mean like
the
real
team.
happiness?
Yeah, happiness. Did you ever get there?
No.
No. You're still just doing it to do
No, I mean I was doing it because I like playing sports.
competitively.
But you know the crazy thing is I never enjoyed it. I never found happiness in it. I was doing it because I knew I liked playing sports.
Mhm.
I know what that looked like, but I wasn't. That emotion wasn't there. Happiness wasn't there. I couldn't feel happy. I have to be honest with you. True happiness. I would say true happiness, like genuine, not putting a mask on. Like you know what I mean. It's probably you know I probably first time I really started to feel that was with my ex.
Okay.
That was probably the first time in years that truly, you know, like really genuine happiness.
How long had it been? Like, so were you still on opioids when you were playing softball?
No.
How, and you'd been off them for
Oh
quite a
yeah,
while.
that
So
was
all that stuff was cleared
yeah.
up. So your brain was clear. There was no chemicals involved.
No.
You just were not producing any kind of happiness in your brain. It was just
No emotions.
none.
None. I could not connect, and I've never been able to for probably since I left the team in '07. I would say that was I haven't really been able to connect like you know what I mean like a real connection.
Right.
They just don't feel. I just never felt it. You know, emotion wise, really, the only emotion that I'd feel would be anger.
Yeah. But
And that's secondary emotion. So all that tells me is there's an emotion that I can't handle or I don't know how to deal with, like sadness or guilt or shame or love or any of
Pain.
that, right? Pain, all that stuff. It comes out as anger because that's the only thing I know. Because anger for years, that's how you get shit done.
anguish, frustrations, just
know.
absolutely.
You know, and that's a good thing for people to realize. If somebody you love so angry, you know, there's something underneath that. I mean, unless you shit in his Cheerios, then yeah, he's gonna get angry.
Sure.
But if he's just angry, like if the man's just angry for no reason, the kids are crying and he's angry. He's not angry because the kids are crying. Do you know what I mean? Like if he's angry for no reason, like he's just angry, there's something he's angry about. And it's not anger. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. He's not angry. There's something in there that's causing that anger that he doesn't know how to deal with.
Exactly. If it's not a situation that most people would be angry about, and he's showing anger,
There's something in there.
there's something in there.
There's something in there that he can't deal with, or doesn't know how to deal with, or doesn't want to deal with. That he has to deal with, or else he's gonna be angry the rest of his life.
Right.
You know. Yeah, I mean that's just what it is. He's got to, let it go. And I say that those who can't do teach, right? But it's just what it is. You know, it's a battle that, like I said, from the battlefield to the war. It's always a fucking everyday war. You know, I was talking to a dude called me right after the first segment. A friend of mine called me, man, that was hurting, which is a testament to what you're doing here. Because he probably wouldn't have called me if this probably triggered him to call me, you know. But he called me and he was hurting, man. Dude was hurting bad, you know. And it's like I could hear it in his voice, like he's frustrated and angry, you know. And we talked about it, me and you, like being able to turn that page, right? You're not an SF anymore. You're not a Green Beret anymore. You're not going to war. You're not going to get that's done. That's done. You know, those days are done. You have to turn the page and be comfortable with that next page. You know, that's very hard for guys to do.
It's unwritten though, right? You turn the page, your everything ahead of you is what you make it, and the only way that you're going to get those kind of relationships again where you can have those trusts is to let down some of these walls. I mean, you can't be so hyper vigilant and so defensive all the time that you can't let people in. I think that standard of the only people you trust is guys you went to war with. That has to go away with that page when you turn it.
It has to. It has to. It fucking has to. Because you're holding these poor people that or want to do good in your life to an unrealistic expectation. You're an unrealistic standard. Bottom line.
That's right.
You have to get to the mentality, and I'm saying this, I struggle with it too, so I don't want people to think that I'm like fucking like, oh, it's easy, you just do it. Like I'm telling you what you need to do. I still struggle doing it. Is you have to start giving people opportunities. You have to believe that they're good until, me, and I could probably say we to every Green Beret, but it is, tell me if I'm wrong, you earn my respect.
Generally speaking, that's the case.
You are nothing until it's earned, right? You show up to the team, man, you got to earn that shit. You're nothing, dude. Until we go shooting, and it's like, oh shit, all right, you can shoot. Okay. Then we deploy, and then you come back, and yeah, you're a brother, man. You're in, right? You earn it. You earn that respect. You earn that right to be a part of my circle, right? My trusted circle.
Sure. Until
you do that, you're nothing. You're nothing, right? Well, if you turn your page, and that's the standard that you're going to live by with civilian people or women, or if you're dating or your family, your wife, if that's how you're going to treat them, well, you're
going to be alone, bro.
That page is very lonely.
Yeah, it is. You try to put those same standards against people that are just trying to be your friends, and you try to hold them to that standard that, hey, you said you would do it, so I expected it to be done. Why are we having a conversation that's not done? You can't do that with your friends. It's just not the same. And that took me. I'm still dealing with it, man. I still expect people to do what they say they're going to do. And
you get by with it when they're Green Berets that you're friends with, right? You get by with that because they get it. They get it.
They get it.
But you can't be friends. You can't only be friends with Green Berets. I mean, fuck, man. There's not that many out there anyway. And and you're turning the page. So in a way, it sounds sad. It goes to a double-edged sword. Like, we need to be accountability for each other, but you also need to come out of your comfort zone.
Sure.
And it's. And I say that I haven't done it yet. I'm just trying to.
So the softball team.
Yeah, it's a perfect example.
When you got to that softball team, did they make you earn their respect with like number of home runs or anything like that, or was it open arms, man? Come on in,
dude. Fucking complete strangers. Didn't even know what I looked like because it was like online. Like, oh, you learn to play, right? So I just show up. I'm like looking for this team, dude. You would have thought like they've known me forever. Like they were just like welcome, right? Like they were just welcome, man. Like, welcome. Oh yeah, Where if it was a bunch of us and we needed a player,
we're gonna sniff some butts for a minute, right?
And they show up, we're all gonna be like standoffish. Like, what position you play? Right field? Oh, you're playing short. Go fucking don't make an error. Right? Like that's how we would be. Like we would be assholes until the kid went 3 for 4. All right, hey you want to come for a beer? But if he goes 0 for 4, we're like, fuck this dude.
And we were joking about that in the office the other day. We hold ourselves to such high standards. I was giving Phil and Z were in the office, both combat divers. I'm not a combat diver, free fall guy. Got that natural arch going. And so anyway, I'm showing them the respect because we're talking about diving and we're talking about free diving, which is something I know a little bit about. And so I mentioned something about free diving. They both looked over and it was like, I'm not a master, bow down to the combat divers kind of thing. But we really do give each other a lot of shit for not being, if you don't have that school, if you don't have a ranger tab and you're around, a lot of tabbed guys, it doesn't matter. You have your special forces tab. Because there's something you don't have, and we'll hold you to that. You're never enough in SF, right? In our world, you can always do more. You can always do better. But that's a fucking hard standard to hold.
But that's why we're good. It's a necessary evil.
But then you talk that ego piece too, though, right? Like we know we can get through pretty much anything that's thrown at us. That was taught to us, and it was structured to be shown that way. But now take away that how-to guide, right? I mean, as long as they're teaching us, and what was it?
Be no do.
Be no do. See one, right? Someone's going to show you how to do this, right? Then you're going to show them that you know how to do it, that you learned it, and then you're going to start teaching people how to do it. That's how we work in our community, right? You got to be able to pick stuff up quick, and then you got to be able to turn around and teach
and apply it
logically, right?
And apply it.
Yeah. So now when we leave that and that roadmap's gone, and it's like, okay, we've demonstrated that we can learn and pretty much teach anything that's thrown at us. But we're gonna take all that we gave you, right? And that's the edge of it. Now you got to go out on your own and you got to apply all those things. That's where we're at, brother. We have to apply all those things that we learned. There's no more roadmap, right? We are the roadmap. And that's what chapter 2 looks like. Apply those techniques.
What techniques are you talking about? Nobody gave me a roadmap of shit.
You learned a lot of stuff over a 20-year career.
I know. That's what I'm saying. If there's some Taliban out here that had to like run or something, that'll be good.
That's okay.
But there's, I'm joking.
I know you are.
You're right. A lot of skills were taught to us. A lot of skills, right? A lot of skills that could be beneficial to us and help us. But I don't know about you, but my professional life and my personal life were always completely different. The amount of effort and diligence and attention and put into my work, right, life is not the same as I put into my personal life. You know what I mean?
Give it a percentage. Are you saying 50%, 50-50 that?
Oh no, 90-10. 90-10. Why? And I'll be honest with you. Why is that? I think there's a few reasons for it, but I think the main thing, if I was going to be completely honest, is your self-worth.
Yeah.
I think it's your self-worth. I struggle with it. I struggle with my self-worth, because you deal with shame and guilt and all that stuff, and it affects you. And then you get mixed up with the wrong people. You don't get that supportive person or somebody that's going to help lift you up, right?
Right.
I think for somebody struggling with PTSD, struggling with trauma, self-worth is self-worth is like the number one thing, in my opinion, because when you don't have self-worth, everything feels it. Everything falls apart, right? Because if you don't have self-worth and you don't believe you're worth doing this for, or you don't think you're good enough for this or good enough for that, right? Or you don't think you're good enough for any self-love, or right? Dude, you're fucked.
So how do you rebound from that? I mean, when you leave the military and your self-worth was up here when you left the military. You were one of the guys everybody was looking to. You always had the answer, and now you've transitioned out. Not their responsibility anymore, but how do you find that next thing to keep your self-worth at a high enough level?
Yeah, see, but I don't look at it like that. See, your self-worth in the military. See, I don't. When you have the uniform on, it's like right, we're shielded in a way, right? Because
you're on this team.
Well, because you're Green Beret, you know your job, right? So that's not. I'm not going to label that as my self-worth. I'm going to label that as just my worth, my professional worth to the guys, right? My knowledge, my experience, right? I'm worth a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm worth a lot. But underneath that uniform right, were personally, right, my personal
Image of yourself.
image of myself, right, that doesn't come into play at work because I know what I am at work,
Sure.
right? But now when I leave work and I take the uniform off, what do I see? Right? What do I see? I see the dude that couldn't save this fucking kid's life. I see the dude that sat there for 30 minutes while this kid died. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I see. I see the dude that's fucked up, and he can't get his life together when Leroy didn't even see his kid. You know what I mean? All those things is what the dude sees. He sees all of his traumas. He doesn't see the achievements and the accomplishments, right? Because those don't mean much to him. What matters is he failed at the most important time. You know what I mean? He failed the most important time when he was supposed to be there. When his kids were getting, there's things that happen that you fail at that you can't let go. So like it's almost as if your career is a mask.
Right. You don't even see yourself anymore. You're really just in the mirror just for the formality of combing your hair and brushing your teeth and washing your face. You're not seeing
all the pride and shit that you got from wearing that uniform is gone, right? All the good stuff that you were able to draw out of that uniform, that identity is gone. But all the bad shit from that is still there.
Sure.
That's fucked up, right?
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Why did you let all the pride go? Why aren't you holding on to that pride from being a Green Beret?
Yeah.
Why aren't you fucking holding on to that confidence? Why aren't you holding on to all of those achievements? Why are you letting all of that go? And just hold on to the shame and guilt and the regret and the failures? Because there's only a few of those when there's hundreds of fucking achievements you've done. I don't know. I mean, that's what I did the same thing.
I've thought about it a lot over time, and it seems to me that when you're in the military, you have a nice roadmap to promotion, to moving up in the structure, right? You start off as just one of the guys. Before you know it, you're a team leader, squad leader, and so on. And you're moving up, and there's a roadmap. You know the things that you have to do to get to that next level, and they require a bunch of successes, right? You graduate basic training, success. Graduate airborne school, success. Everything's success, right? Throughout your 20 some odd year career.
And then you get like a little trinket
to
remind you of your success.
Right? Absolutely. And you get a pay bump and all those things, right? That remind you that you're successful, right? You may hit a rock or hit a wall here too and have a failure, but then you get to go back to that school or get to repeat it and you get past. So you've been successful for all this time, and then you leave that success and you got this blank page, and you never once, during all that success that you were getting, you never once stopped and found the significance within all of that success, right? Where's the significance from all that success, right? What's around you, and the places that you've been, the people that you've met, those lives that you've touched, like that significance becomes very hard to find when that blank canvas is there. And I think it has to do with that lack of easy planning, where it's 5-meter targets. We always talk about, hey, we want to get to here, but in order to get to there, we've got to do these things first. And we have those small goals and those small things in mind, but when you get out and it's a blank canvas and you don't know which direction you want to go,
well, nobody's there laying out those goals for you anymore. Mm-mm. Now it's just you. Like you said, we learned the skill. We have to apply it. So we learned from the military, like, you should be setting goals. I mean, we were taught all those skills.
one of the things that Healing Paws taught me, right, when I got Truman, is once you have that dog that you're responsible for, and that dog needs to get out and piss, use the bathroom, do its business, you don't get to choose, right? You take away that choice, like you're talking about, right? You got to be held accountable. You don't have a choice to get out of bed or not. Your dog needs to pee. You got to go,
The
right?
dog almost makes you be accountable.
The dog makes you be accountable, and that's what Healing Paws is all about, right? It's, once again, you have something that is solely dependent on you getting out of bed, doing those things that you need to do, and holding you accountable. I guess when we can't find it within each other, we can't find friends that are going to hold us accountable. Truman has held me accountable, and that's one of the great things about some of these therapies and those breakthroughs. I didn't realize Truman was such a big thing, such a big tool until 2 years in, a year and a half in, when it's just like, holy shit, I lost 80 pounds and I actually like myself again and I'm doing stuff again, right?
Yeah.
Truman kept me accountable, man. And so I think you're 100% right. Don't leave me alone. Don't, what was you came up with? What was that catchphrase?
Don't let me be.
Don't let me be, right? Don't let me be.
You know what I think is important? If we were going to talk about a portion of it,
Yeah.
which I think guys would be beneficial, would be, because a lot of people don't understand it, is, okay, so what we're doing here is helping, right? And the guy does take this step. Maybe the family guides him in, or somebody that loves him, right, saves this guy, or somebody in need of help. And then we get him signed off and he goes to one of these places, goes for a treatment or into an inpatient place, right? Because that's our goal. If you're at that point, you need to go inpatient.
Yeah.
You need to unplug and go get some help.
Admit it to yourself that it's unmanageable.
Which Matt Docchio's theory is, anybody in special operations that has a day doing any type of special operations, right, should do it. Should do it. Even if you're not even there. It's just good to do. It's healthy. I mean, it is. It's healthy to go in there, healthy for the group, be with the group, talk about things. I think everybody should have the opportunity of doing it. It shouldn't be when you're at that point. But, funds are tight.
And you're talking about just getting in a group counseling session.
I'm talking inpatient.
Inpatient.
I'm talking go 2 weeks.
Okay.
Go spend 2 weeks at the place. Live there. I mean, it's nothing but good, man. It's nothing but good. Even if, that's what I'm saying, even if you're not at that point, if you're just an SF guy getting ready to retire, life's going good, it still would be beneficial. You know what I mean? It really would. But I think once you get to that point, and then help is there, and you're taking that help, being prepared for what you're about to experience, understanding what you're about to go through, because it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Like the moment it's not like, okay, I'm going for help, right?
Yeah.
It's not over yet. Like, you're going to, it's a problem I think it's a problem in this, in mental health, that stage of when you take that step into that facility. It's not like everything's great. You're going to deal with dehumanization.
Oh yeah.
At the foremost of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be right in your face, because let me tell you, the hardest thing for a guy to do, and I'm talking about from my personal experience, you're at the end, right? You're at the end so much where you're ready to end it, right? So where are you at mentally, right? Your self-worth's gone, right? You feel like a monster, right? You don't want to be around the kids. You feel horrible, right? You feel like a horrible person. You're isolated. You don't feel human. And then miraculously, you're taking that step into this facility, in this treatment facility, right, to get help. And which is probably the hardest steps you're going to take in your life.
Yeah.
It was the hardest steps I've ever had to take, because you got to leave your ego. You got to leave everything that you know at the door, right? And you do that to get punched in the face by this in-processing kind of bureaucratic process that you have to go through in that state. I mean, from, it's almost like going to prison.
Yeah.
I mean, you get stripped of everything. I mean, you're standing naked in front of strangers with clipboards, examining your body, right? Reminding you of how fucked up you are, right? Like calling things out, and, everything that you own gets taken from you. You get given these pajamas. It's almost like SEER school.
Yeah.
And I wrote, I wrote like a long article on it, on the dehumanization of patients in the mental health facility, because it's fucked up, and what's screwed up about it is when you're there, you'll see guys leave, and a week later they come back, and you know what they say? He wasn't ready yet. And that used to bother me. They do that. Like, oh, he wasn't ready yet. Like, he wasn't ready. Like, if that's what you're saying, he wasn't ready to get help, or was it because he was here for 21 days and it took him 14 days to feel human again, to be able to start learning,
right?
To be able to start healing, because he was in fucking paper pajamas, eating out of a fucking rubber fork and writing with a flimsy rubber pen, and you know what I mean? Well, all of us are in civilians. This dude spent the first week looking like a POW.
Yeah.
Because it takes a week to get cleared, right? You know what I mean? It's like little things like that where they think I think that, they don't understand it because they haven't been there.
Right.
In a way, so I think it's important for guys to understand like what you're going to be faced with. It's not an easy road. It's a lot of guys go and leave early, because they can't handle it. They fucking leave. They quit. It's sad to get to that point. You're at the finish line, not the finish line, but you're at the point,
right?
And you leave because, the staff treats you like a monkey in a zoo,
less than human, right?
When you're already less than human. So all that's happening is you're just adding credibility to the bullshit in the kid's head that he's a monster and he's not human and nobody else is like, you're adding to all those negative self-perceptions that guy has, and you're a professional. So now it's like quantifiable,
right? It's
not just him saying it. You're treating me like that, so I must be that. That was a hard thing for me to deal with. It was a hard thing for me to get through, because it was like, fuck, man, like I am sick. Do you know what I mean? Like it kind of like was like, I am fucking sick. Like, you're treating me like I got some disease. I don't know. But I don't know. I think that's a good talking point.
No, it really is. That taking those steps into treatment are absolutely some of the hardest you'll ever take. And you've made that decision. You've said, I need help. You're at that point, you're asking for it. And we talked about this before. Guys like us, we're going to ask once. So you got to be listening. But when we get to that point where we say, yeah, we need help, we want help, we're there, we're ready to take it now. You don't need to berate us for a week to make us worse and then start the healing. We're there, we're asking, we're saying, hey, we need help. What do we need to do? But that's a hard thing to get through, man. But I'll tell you, the guys that were there when I got there, that made a difference. Perfect strangers, but they're going through the same thing as me. I don't know what they're going through, but they're there. Same thing.
Healing's in the group.
And it was in the group. Absolutely.
Healing's in the group. That's why when I went to that first place in Texas, in San Antonio, I was supposed to go for 30 days. I was there for 63. Because for the first 30 days, I did nothing. I did nothing to get help. Because I had an ego. I wasn't willing to, you know what I mean? I wasn't willing to let down that wall. I wasn't willing to buy into the system. You know, I was, you know what I mean? I wasn't, because it took 2 weeks for me to get over the fucking intake. You know, it took me 2 weeks to like feel like, okay. And then it took me 2 weeks to get rid of my ego. You know what I mean? It was that mentality of keeping everybody away. You know, it took me 2 weeks for the doctor to prove himself, you know, it's a shame because I missed out on all that
healing that you could have been.
It wasn't until the doctor, it was a cool ass doctor, man. He brought me. I knew he was cool when he had cowboy boots on with a suit. That's when I knew that dude was legit.
Now you're talking.
And he did. He brought me in. And he was like, "Listen, man, we're gonna keep you for another I think 30 days or whatever." He was like, "I'm gonna tell you this. You're here." And it was like another, not an aha moment, but it was just great advice. You know, it was just great advice that at that time my head was clear, and what he was saying to me made fucking sense. He's like, "You're here. You're staying for another 30 days. Just drink the Kool-Aid.
Be in the moment."
He said, "Drink the Kool-Aid." That's what he said to me. He said, "Drink the Kool-Aid, man." He said, "What's the worst thing that could happen?
Right.
You get better. Worst thing that could happen is you're going to stay the same. Yeah. So there's no difference." He said, "But there, you know, don't you want to leave here, you know, on a positive, feeling better, like, you know, healthy?" He's like, "You're here. You might as well do it, man." He said, "Just do it and see what happens." And I was like, you know what? I was like, you're right. I needed that. I needed somebody to like give me permission to let go of this. I don't know what I was trying to.
You had to make a choice. They had to put it in front of you for you to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to choose that.
Yeah.
And no, that's huge.
But a lot of guys take the other choice.
No, I'll just rather go. Right now, I'm good. I'll come back if I need it.
A lot of guys take the other choice.
Yeah.
And they blame it on, you know, bullshit.
Well, you know, a lot of times I know my fear was the job, right? I was afraid that the company was going to take my job away, which was going to enable my ability to take care of my family, right? So it's how can I go take care of myself if I get fired, you know? So you have all this fear about actually taking care of yourself because you've built it in your head that nobody's going to understand this. Nobody's going to give me a chance to go heal. Dude, I'll tell you, the company I work for, Matt, I couldn't have been more wrong. They were so supportive, you know, just take what you need. I was in the company. I was new in the company. I thought they were going to fire me and just hire the next application. And no, brother, you're here. Just let us know what you need.
You're talking about contractor.
Talking about as a contractor.
Dude, you're right.
Talking about General Dynamics, man. Like they took care of me and allowed me to do what I needed to do. And
that's awesome.
I want to remind people out there, man, that there are good companies out there that would rather you get healed and then come back healed and perform the way that they know you can, as opposed to struggling and trying to hide it. Like, you got to be willing to open up and let them know.
That's funny that you said that. I didn't know that I didn't know that happened with you. It's funny they say that because Khaki, I got hired right out of the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to Afghanistan and I'd come back. So I was doing like 4 or 5 months in Afghanistan, I'd come back for like a month. I was supposed to be back for 4 months. And then after a month, I'm like, I got to go.
You just got to get back there.
Because I would fall apart.
But you're comfortable. That's your comfort zone.
Yep. And I would come back to the States in DC and be working in the office, and I would fall apart. It was quick. It was a very rapid, falling apart.
Fine.
I was not ready. I was not ready to be doing what I was doing. But when I was overseas, I was stellar. Right, I was stellar. Every command that I worked for was write letters. Like, I was getting all kudos. So they were really happy. But Khaki, Mark Saucer, dude, I'll say, he knew I was hurting. He actually called my father. This is my boss.
This is your
right?
boss, not in the military.
Not the military. This is like my boss in the civilian world in this company, right? This dude cared enough, right? Cared enough. I've known him for maybe like a year now, right? Great. He was my supervisor, right?
Your
He was
mentor, supervisor.
Yeah, team lead, project manager, right? Whatever it is.
Okay.
This dude called my father, like straight up called my father, worried about me, he's met a right, like, dude, talk about like supporting me. Then brings me in, gets me enrolled like in this like program that they have to make sure, to help, right? To help guys that are struggling. I mean, to cover me, to cover me. I mean, dude, the things he did to ensure I was okay, not the you know what I mean? The things he did to make sure that I was covered, that everything would work out was like, that's a fucking private company. That's not the military. Like, they have no, they can fire you. They can fire you if they want. There's people lined up to get the job. And dude, they cared more about making sure I was all right, making sure I was healthy. Anything I needed, they were there. I mean, you can't beat that.
No,
you can't beat that. I mean, it's like, I don't think that's not usual.
I was so afraid. And I thought, I told my wife, I said, babe, okay, I'm going to go get help. I said, but I have no clue. I said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get fired. And it's just, we're going to have to figure it out. And my wife said, I don't care. Like, we'll deal with it when we get there. Right. But no, I got a hold of my supervisor, and it's just like, hey, I'm sick. I'm having a lot of issues, and I need to go into inpatient for a little bit, and they're gonna get my medications right, and they're kind of get me fixed, right? No problem, dude. Do what you need to do. We'll be here. Let us know when you can call. I got a break to go see my son graduate from high school, right? And I called, bro. There was messages like they wanted, hey, we understand you're sick. We just want to make sure you don't lose all your leave, anything like that. Like, if there's anything we can do, get a hold of this person. And so much support from so many people that I'd never met. I'd never even met these people. Never met them. They supported me like nobody's business, man. So when we dropped that first episode on July 3rd, right? That was my 3-year mark from getting released. And, we can't fear so much the things that we've heard from the past, right? We've been told too many things. You can't do that. No, you'll get fired. This will happen. We can't be so afraid of things that we've heard from the past, and we've got to be willing to take those steps and seek out our help, man.
Yep. And understand everybody that goes through it. That's the big thing. We all think that we are the only people that have this problem. We think that we're different.
Yeah.
We think we're different, or we're special. Not special, but different. You know what I mean? And we're not. We're not. Everybody has issues. Everybody goes through problems. You know what I mean? Everybody is dealing with their own shit. And I think you need to, when you put that faith in them, it's, you're putting your faith in a good thing.